Okay, so this weekend we have UFC 294, Islam Mackhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski 2. This has been a really crazy card. A lot of weird, crazy things have happened this past week or past 2 weeks on this card. A lot of things have been shifted around. It's been very exciting, and it's a great card. It's a really good showcase card for the Middle Eastern group, the Dagestanis and those Russian fighters. There's going to be a lot of not very close fights in favor of those fighters, if I'm being completely honest. But I'm going to go over the main card, give you guys my picks and predictions for every fight on the main card. So first off, we're going to go Said Nurmagomedov versus Muin Gafurov. Gafurov only has one fight in the UFC so far against John Castaneda, and he lost. Said Nurmagomedov has been in the UFC for a while. He has a lot of great performances. He's one of the better bantamweights outside of the top 15. He's more of a striker than he is a grappler, which is a little unusual for these Dagestani guys. I know everybody just expects them to be great grapplers, and he is a very good grappler. He has great submissions. He's very squirrely and fast on the ground, but he's definitely more of a striker. He's got crazy kicks and just very strange, funky striking, and I think he's a pretty easy pick on the card. It's definitely a fight that's meant to just showcase him, because Muin Gafurov, he has some good wins on the regional scene. He's fought some decent opponents, but they're not UFC caliber. The one UFC guy that he fought, he lost to. He's just kind of unproven, and he doesn't seem particularly special in any area. So I'm going to go with Said Nurmagomedov, probably by submission. Either submission or decision. I don't think he'll get a knockout, but he could. He has, like I said, some pretty wild kicks, but he doesn't tend to actually land them. They're more just for flash, I think, and to distract his opponents. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Said Nurmagomedov, getting like a second-round submission probably. Next fight on the card is Ikram Aliskerov versus Warlley Alves. This is another really big mismatch, in my opinion. Ikram Aliskerov is the guy that he's well known for losing to Khamzat Chimaev on the regional scene, but he gave Khamzat like his toughest fight before coming into the UFC. He stuffed all of Khamzat's takedowns, so his wrestling is very, very, very good. We know that. At least his defensive wrestling, he hasn't really shown his offensive wrestling in the UFC yet. He's only fought Phil Haas so far, and that was mostly a striking match where he was honestly losing most of the striking exchanges. Phil Haas is a very good striker, so I don't really blame him for losing those exchanges on the feet. And then he knocked out Phil Haas, but that doesn't say much. Phil Haas has a terrible chin, and he gets knocked out by everybody. It seems he gets knocked out by a sneeze, so it doesn't really say much for Ikram Aliskerov. I think this fight is a pretty big downgrade from when he was supposed to fight Nasruddin Imavov, and I was going to pick Imavov to win that fight, even though I know most people were going to pick Ikram. Imavov is just more proven, and in hindsight, his performance against Sean Strickland is very good when compared to how Israel Adesanya did against Strickland. So I'm pretty bummed that fight didn't come together. Warlley Alves, he's got a lot of miles on the tank. He former welterweight, which could be an advantage. Welterweights generally seem to be better than middleweights. If you look at a lot of the top middleweights, they're former welterweights. Guys like Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, even Marvin Vettori. A lot of these guys, former welterweights. So maybe he'll move up and just expose Ikram Aliskerov, but I kind of doubt it. The way Ikram performed against Khamzat, even that version of Khamzat back then, I think just that alone proves that he could beat Warlley Alves. This fight's only here because Nasruddin. It only exists because Nasruddin pulled out. Warlley Alves doesn't really belong in this position. I think he's going to get completely destroyed and probably TKO'd to ground and pound in the first round. Next fight on the card is Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. That's a great fight. This is a weird one. I just have a gut feeling that Johnny Walker is going to win by some crazy knockout. There's no reason to pick him, to be honest. Logic says that Magomed Ankalaev should school him for the whole fight or knock him out early because it's Johnny Walker and you can blow on him and he'll fall over. But I don't know. For some reason, I think Johnny Walker is going to win. Magomed Ankalaev is very good. He's definitely one of the best light heavyweights in the world. But for some reason, he just manages to make all his wins look really unimpressive to me. And Johnny Walker has looked better recently. He's looked much better. He didn't look great in the Anthony Smith fight, but neither did Magomed Ankalaev when he fought Anthony Smith. One thing that I will say is Magomed Ankalaev, when he fought Jan Blachowicz, he was getting his legs chewed up, and Johnny Walker just chewed up Smith's legs in their fight. Johnny Walker is just a very dynamic, strange striker with crazy finishing potential. I think he could have finished Anthony Smith if he wanted to. It almost seemed like he felt bad in that fight and chose not to finish him, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like testing it out on the feet, because Ankalaev tends to strike for a lot of the fight. He didn't take down Blachowicz until like the 4th round, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a striking match for the most part, and Johnny Walker is handily winning the striking exchanges. I do believe he's just a better striker, especially this version of him that's more measured, more controlled. He sticks to the fundamentals more than he used to. There's less flying knees and less spinning back fists and weird elbows, and he's doing more just like 1-2s, leg kicks, body kicks, stuff like that. I think if he sticks to the fundamentals like that, he'll win the striking exchanges. Eventually, Magomed Ankalaev will probably shoot a single leg or a double leg or something. And if he does that, Johnny Walker is a freak athlete. I don't think Magomed Ankalaev's path to victory is the grappling, to be honest. Even though I think he's a better grappler, Johnny Walker is just one of those weird guys that you get on a single leg like Paul Craig did, and he just hits you with a few back fists and you're done because he hits so hard. His finishing potential is crazy. He could land like a flying knee on a takedown. He could get in the clinch and just smack you with an elbow, and you're done, like he did to Khalil Roundtree. Like, he has great finishing potential. Ankalaev has very little finishing potential. I mean, that goes up when you're fighting Johnny Walker because, like I said, he's chinny. But I don't see Ankalaev landing something that will chin him, and I don't think the grappling is a great path to victory for him. I do think he needs to just get aggressive on Johnny Walker. But yeah, it's weird. I'm leaning toward Johnny Walker, and I think Johnny Walker is going to get a knockout within the distance. So yeah, that's my pick for that fight. Next up is Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. I think we're going to see Usman retire this weekend. I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to knock him out early in the fight. I don't think he'll knock him out stiff, but I think he'll knock him out. He'll go down. He'll follow up, hit him with a few ground and pound shots. Maybe Usman tries to get up because he's going to be a tough dude. He's going to try to stay in there, but I think Khamzat will end up just piling it on him early and getting the finish, and the ref will call it off, I think, in like the 1st round, probably. And my reasoning for that is Usman doesn't seem to be as good as he used to be. He's very basic on the feet, very basic striking, just straight punches, just jabs, 1-2s, minimal kicks. He relies on his wrestling in a lot of his wins throughout his career. He's a wrestler. That's what he's always been. He's definitely developed his striking since becoming a champion, but he's mostly a wrestler, and you're not going to wrestle with Khamzat Chimaev. I don't trust him to do that, especially when Usman is a wrestler at welterweight who heavily relied on his physicality advantage. He's much bigger than most of the welterweights. You look at him against Colby, he's a lot bigger than Colby. Colby doesn't really cut much weight, and they were pretty much even in the wrestling department. That tells me that Colby's probably more skilled, but Usman is stronger and a bit bigger, but he's not going to be bigger and stronger than Khamzat, I don't think. And he's slowed down, it seems like. I worry about his chin after the head kick KO, and he's just taken a lot of damage over the years. I don't think he ever had the best chin because he would get wobbled by Colby Covington. Colby has pillow hands. Colby's a great fighter, but he doesn't hit hard. He has great striking, to be honest, but again, he doesn't hit hard, and he was wobbling Usman all over the place in both of those fights. And if Colby's wobbling you, then I don't trust you to take too many shots off Khamzat, because Khamzat hits really hard. I don't even think this fight's going to go to the ground. Outside of Usman getting dropped, I don't see either guy even getting to the point where they shoot a takedown. I think it's going to be on the feet the whole time pretty much until Khamzat just steamrolls forward and catches Usman. Usman's a guy that also, he wins most of his fights by moving forward, and when he's not moving forward, He doesn't perform as good, and I just don't see him being able to move forward against Khamzat. I don't think he can push Khamzat back. I think Khamzat's going to put on the pressure against him, and yeah, those 1-2s and stuff don't work super good when you're moving backwards the whole time. Guys that utilize the 1-2 and effectively, like Usman did in his title reign, they do it moving forward. Look at Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland pretty much just throws 1-2s the whole fight, but he never stops moving forward. Marvin Vettori, for most of his career, just used 1-2s, but he would generally move forward. And in the fights where he got pushed back, he lost. Fights like against Whitaker, against Jared Cannonier, he would lose those fights. If he can't move forward, which I don't think he can, I don't think he can win. There's always a chance that Khamzat rushes forward like a wild man, like he did against Burns, and maybe Usman just chucks out a straight left and catches him coming in, and maybe it could chin him. Crazy things have happened in this sport, but I'm not going to bank on that. I think Khamzat Chimaev's going to get a first round TKO, and I think Usman's going to take off the gloves, leave him in the center of the cage, and retire right after the fight. All right, last fight on the card, Islam Mackhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. Regardless of it being a short notice fight, I would pick Islam Mackhachev to win either way. I'm definitely going to pick him to win, with Alexander Volkanovski being on short notice, not having a proper training camp for the fight. I just can't think of a way that he wins other than catching Islam. Even Volk has come out and said that he doesn't want to test the gas tank in this fight, and that's worrying to hear. It could be him playing tricks, to be honest. He could be playing mind games. Maybe he's trying to get Islam to underestimate him as much as possible, and it'll come out there, and it'll turn out that he's actually been training really hard all this time for a fight with Islam. That could be. Even if that is the case, though, I still think Islam will win. And my reason for that is the first fight, it was super close. It was an amazing fight. It was one of the best, it was one of the most skillful fights I've ever seen. I think it's probably one of the highest skilled fights in the history of the sport, to be honest. It was an incredible fight. Both guys underestimated each other in different ways. Islam did much better in the striking than anybody thought he would. Volkanovski did much better in the grappling than anybody thought he would. But Volk had pretty much every advantage in that fight. That one was in his hometown. It was in his hometown. It was Islam's first title defense. There was a lot of pressure on him. It was kind of a lose-lose situation for Islam. Maybe not a lose-lose, but Islam was the one defending his belt. Volk wasn't, so there's more pressure because of that. If either guy was underestimating the other, which I think both did a little, but I think Islam probably underestimated Volk a lot more because Volk was the smaller guy. He won't do that again. And Volk had been training and bulking up to lightweight for quite a while. He'd been training knowing he was going to fight Islam for quite a while. And so with this fight where he's coming in on short notice, you take away most of those advantages. It's not in his hometown like the first one was. So scorecards are less likely to be in his favor. He's also less likely to have that the morale boost of having, your whole home crowd cheering for you. He's coming in on short notice. His gas tank probably won't be as good. He's probably not going to be as strong. He hasn't been bulking up to lightweight as far as we know. He was supposed to be fighting Ilya Topuria. His last fight was at featherweight. He'll probably be smaller than he was in the first go around. I'm sure he'll still be very sharp. He'll still be a great striker, but I think that lack of strength, that lack of size is going to be a big factor in the grappling. And I see Islam being a lot more dominant in the grappling in this fight. I think the striking will be pretty much the same as the first one. I think they're very even on the feet because Alexander Volkanovski, he's a better offensive striker. He's better pushing the pace on the feet. Islam, though, is a very good counter striker, so it makes this very competitive, very entertaining fight on the feet when they go at it in the striking. But I think that Islam is not going to be underestimating Volk's grappling in this one. I think Islam's been putting in a lot of work in the grappling for his fight with Charles Oliveira, because you have to if you're going to fight Oliveira. And yeah, I just see him being more dominant in the grappling against a smaller Volkanovski than was in the first fight, getting top pressure and maybe beating him up a little and I wouldn't be surprised if he puts Volk to sleep with a choke, because I don't think Volk will tap. We've seen this already. Volk doesn't tap. I don't think Islam is the kind of guy to get a hold of someone's arm and break it, but I do think he could get like an arm triangle or a rear naked choke at some point, and he could put Volk to sleep. Even though Volk has like no neck, if anybody could choke him out, I would say it's probably Islam Mackhachev. Either that, or he gets some sort of knockout on the feet. He talked before the Oliveira fight that he was saying that he wanted to knock out Oliveira because he subbed him in the first one. So maybe he's been working on a lot of striking stuff, working on his finishing ability on the feet. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets into like the clinch with Volk, who's much shorter than him, and he throws a knee up the middle, hits him in the head, maybe some elbows in the clinch. Yeah, but I am going to go with Islam Mackhachev by submission late in the fight. I'm thinking like round 4, round 5, when Volk is tired out a bit because he hasn't had a full training camp. So yeah, it's a great card overall. There's a lot of other good fights on the card. We've got guys like Tim Elliott versus Muhammad Mackhachev. Hopefully his knee's okay. After his last fight, he got his knee torn to shreds and then went on to submit the guy afterward. That was pretty crazy. He's been out. He actually hasn't been out all that long. I thought he'd be out for like a year. I don't know how long it's been. What has it been, like 7 or 8 months? I thought he'd be out longer because his knee, I mean, his leg was bent backwards. Tim Elliott's a really good test for him because Tim Elliott's a good grappler. So I'm excited to see that one. I think Muhammad Mackhachev will probably get that done. Trevor Peeks fighting Muhammad Yahya. I think Muhammad Yahya is making his debut, regional fighter. Trevor Peek is ridiculous. He's so fun to watch, but he throws the weirdest techniques on the feet, like standing hammer fists and stuff. He's never going to be a champ, but he's super fun to watch, so I hope he gets it done. But hey, he hits like a truck too, so if you're going to put money on Trevor Peek, definitely do it by knockout. But he's probably a favorite, so you might want to avoid that one because he's too crazy. It's hard to trust him. Javid Basharat, Victor Henry should be really good. I think Javid Basharat would get that one done. He's a great talent coming up. Nathaniel Woods fighting on the card against Muhammad Naimov. I love Nathaniel Woods striking. I think it's awesome. I think he's super technical and he's just a great fighter. Muhammad Naimov, that should be a very competitive fight. I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood though. I trust him to get that done. And Bruno Silva is welcoming Sharabutin Magomedov to the UFC. If you guys don't know about that guy, he's been this big Russian regional fighter that he's been all over social media lately because he gets a bunch of crazy knockouts on the regional scene, and he got signed by the UFC. I'm not really sold on him. He has crazy power, it looks like, and pretty decent striking. I think he's been fighting a lot of like open weight fights though on the regional scene. I saw one where he's a middleweight first off, and I think I saw a fight where he was literally fighting an open weight match against like a bantamweight. And he knocked a guy out with a knee. Like, yeah, of course you did. He's a bantamweight. I'm not really sold by that. Bruno Silva is no joke. Dude hits hard. He can take a punch really good. Bruno Silva's the guy that went 3 hard rounds with Alex Pereira and was still standing at the end of it. So I think Bruno Silva could get it done, but for some reason fate really favors these Russian fighters. So he probably just going to get knocked out in the first round, to be honest. I just put all your money on Sharabutin and Magomedov. Anyways, yeah, if you guys liked the video, then hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. If you could subscribe, that would be cool. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you later. Goodbye.